So today in the shop, we got to work on our GS wheel project. We did the grinding and sanding. I showed how to make some specialized tools that will be useful for this job. And we ran out of primer and had to run and go buy some more primer. So shame on us, but we always try to share the things we learn along the way. Always keep inventory of primer. Anyway, it turned out, it started out to be super cold. Never really got a lot warmer, but it got warm enough that we could paint. And we did get the first coat of primer on the wheels. So I would count the day as a totally successful day. And as a bonus, I got to have cake for supper. Well, this morning we woke up to Green Bay. It is really cold out here. And I have ice to chop, and it is not a lot of fun. So I am not going to sit around out here looking at oogling bikes and then, because basically I'm cold. And it's really cold. I know Ray Straub commented to me in a message he left. He says he's glad he's not up in the tundra. Well, Ray, I am in the tundra, so send me some money. Now, I used to love to watch football where they're running around in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and blowing smoke out there like they're on fire. But it's not as much fun when you're the one blowing the smoke, believe me. Now, I'm glad I got the wheel off the bike the other day, and I got the Ducati part ready to paint red, and then hopefully in the next couple days we'll connect up with Joe and get the red paint. I don't know if he's had any luck getting it yet. But anyway, as far as I can tell, the Wind Slayer test that we did yesterday was the first of what I call a major improvement. But for sure we're not even planning on riding in the next week or so until it warms up over 40, and today it's under 20, so not much chance that's going to happen. We're going to be working in a shop all day. Now, of course, anything we do for our beloved GS, having an extra set of wheels, being able to make it an evil twin in a relatively short amount of time. And it's great that we're coming up on a time when I need a back tire anyway. Front tire, yeah, I'll probably replace it, but I probably could. If we weren't doing our evil twin thing, I'd get another couple thousand out of that. But what I try to picture on a cold day like today, and this helps me envision the future, is there's going to be a nice sunny day. It's going to be about 70 degrees. I'm going to have the black wheels with the red stripe, 2 brand new tires, new hardware, probably get some new brake pads while we got it all apart. And it's going to be a summer day, and we're just going to roll out here and do our thing. And you've got to be able to envision that on a cold day like today. And it is really brutal out here today. I got to get inside. First, I got to chop my ice. Kind of makes you want to have a pond, doesn't it? Oh man, I can't wait to get inside. The coffee is brewing. And if you don't live in a cold weather climate like we do in Alaska here, wow, that coffee tastes so good on a morning like this. And while I'm going to be busy working on wheels, we're making a cake today. All right.
The cake is from Miles, who has no cake in his house.
Miles came over the other day and said, "We have no cake in our house." Of course, he ate it. So this is it in a nutshell. Rutherford's now 18, the real feel is 12, and big storm watch coming next couple of days, so it'll be good to be grinding on that wheel today. So after a great cup of coffee and waiting for that cake to start going in the oven, down at the shop, and we have projects to work on. Not require us to go outside the rest of the day. Now yesterday I did side 1 of this. I got most of it done, but there's still a lot of detailing to do. But what I want to do is basically what I did in yesterday's video to the other side of the wheel to start the day. And that'll be a couple hours, and we'll just see how it goes. So if you haven't seen yesterday's video, part 2, you know, we had to get rid of some of this lettering. Well, the disc covers this lettering, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time down in there. But you do get to see this. You do get to see this. So I do want to spend some time cleaning that up. I want to do the edges. I've got to etch everything around here. And pretty much what I did yesterday on the other side. Maybe you want to go back and look at that video if you haven't seen it. But there's some other things we're going to do on this, and I'm going to do them right away. I want to make a special tool. Now, a lot of times on a job like this, making a special tool makes it a lot easier. Now yesterday we basically used all power tools, but these are little tools that'll help in detailing out the part. Now this is Norton industrial sandpaper. It's 180 grit, And what I try to do, I try to just roughly measure, and it's not real critical how you do this. I just want to show how to make up what I call a detailing stick. We'll make 3 or 4 of them here because we're obviously going to need them. So first thing is cut up a piece of sandpaper a little bit bigger than what you think you need. By the way, thank you Dave Midgley for donating this roll to our cause. We have used this for many years, and this is really industrial quality stuff. This is really thick. This is not like the stuff you buy in Home Depot. So for this project, I cut up about 10 sheets. It's really not important. None of this is critical, but here's what's critical. I have an ordinary paint stick, which if you don't, a piece of hardwood will do. And what I try to do is very simple. I bend that around here. Now in the past, what I've done, I want to explain this. When I was modeling what you would do, because you're using balsa wood, what would happen? I put contact cement, and stick that down. Okay, that's one way to do it. And I'm going to show the alternative way of doing this. But this is the way that on a project like this is real useful, because as you grind in by any of the spokes and get in the corners, you can't get your finger in the corner, no matter how, unless you're I don't know, an alien or something. But to get into those corners, this allows. Now, when you're done, you turn it around, use the other side. And I've shown this before, because this is going to wear out. When you're done, you cut off about 1/4 inch. You got brand new sandpaper. Cut off 1/4 inch, cut off 1/4 inch, cut off 1/4 inch. And you ultimately, or you can just reverse it and cut some off of that, but eventually it'll come down to having a little square piece of sandpaper. You just throw it away. But this is one way that we're going to use to detail out this wheel. And of course, we're going to detail out the front wheel when we do that. So what I wanted to do is I want to show the different things that may be helpful, because every wheel is going to be different, but this is another technique. Now these are, what I did one time, this is 80 grit. These are the things that normally are on my belt sander, and they're sticky back, of course. And what these are really good for, these is really industrial quality stuff. When we have some big rough casting floor to work on, this is going to be, now I can just use this, see I've made something else from it. But I can just do this, and if it doesn't stick for some reason, it's real easy. I can just put some contact cement, 3M cement on that. But for right now, if I show this, I think you'll get the idea, and you'll be able to make tools that'll serve your needs well. They're like big nail files. But see, and that is 80 grit now. So now I have 180, 80, and now I'm going to be able to get in a lot of edges and corners very conveniently. Here's the little tool that we just made, but now what that's going to allow, and I can be patient doing this. The patience is of the essence here. There's big casting floors, and this will really take material away very quickly. And I want it to have a nice etch. I want it to have scratches, because I want that primer to bond. And this is, and as I'm trying to do this with one hand, this is one of the things, if you know how to make little custom tools like this, boy, it allows you, now just picture, how would you get your finger in there? Forget about it. And all of these floors, another thing right here, this is going to allow me to do this very, very conveniently. So that tool now, and I can replace this, I can cut it. I didn't even need contact cement on this. Or if you're going to use the other stuff that's not sticky back and you want to make it sticky back, it's pretty simple. Spray contact cement on it. And we have a whole bunch of spray cement down there in a black hole in space from making foam wings for model planes. Any of them work. They're all fine. In fact, this one, I think, was one of the best. All available at Lowe's or Home Depot. Now what you notice as soon as you start sanding anything that's aluminum or steel, the edge of this wears out. We've got to take this off now, and I'll do this off camera because I get with gloves in the camera, it's difficult, and just cut that piece and put it right back on, and I'll get 4 or 5 little sanding blocks out of one piece of sandpaper. But once you know how to do this, it's my late friend John DeTavio used to tell me when he was on a job site, he'd steal the trade with his eyes. That was his exact saying. And he'd watch what the other guys are doing, and a week later he was doing it as good as they were. He's a talented guy. Anyway, now we've got a brand new piece of, I'm going to go back and do this. I'm not going to let the camera run. I just wanted to show, this is going to finish off this side of the wheel because I didn't have this tool yesterday. Then I'm going to flip it over and start with the power tools again and try to get this. The goal here today, because we have bad weather coming in, would be hopefully to get it ready for primer, because it may be that it never even warms up warm enough that we can use the primer. And I don't want to paint below freezing. Painting when it's below freezing, it's not that kind of a job. I'm not in a rush. And when you don't have patience, you wind up paying. Sander, and this has worked well. This is real good for doing flat areas, anything flat. Then we have to use the rotary tools to get down in there. And then final thing, of course, has to be done by hand before we remove the tire. And having that tire on, again, I mentioned it yesterday, having that tire on, what it does, it holds it so it doesn't move around. It's just handy. It's like having somebody here holding it for the whole time. Now for me, the next step is the little wire brush, because it gets in all the little angles and edges and around the corners, and we don't have any lettering on this side of the wheel to deal with. So this side should go a little bit quicker, but the idea, and I don't really see in here, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time in there, but I do want to see this, and especially this is where it's going to reflect the sun. So I want to spend most of my time there. Now, once I get one segment done, and I did this yesterday, and it worked out well. Then I do another segment, break it into 6 equal pieces with a cup of coffee in between each piece. And a wire brush did a pretty nice job on the whole outside of the rim here. Now to get in here, this is where that stick is going to come in handy. Once I get the wire, I'm going to do this with the wire brush and then try to get in there and get this nice and flat, because even though the disc is here, you do see some of the reflection of that. And it's just, just a little detail, but all these little details add up. And the 2 little wire brushes have done a great job. The only downside of wire brushing is you really get a lot of that grit, which I've been very careful to vacuum up as I go and keep changing out the towels. You can see how much gets down on the towels even. And don't breathe any of that in. If you're not shooting video, wear a mask. And this has its uses too in getting into some of these spots that are hard to get at. Well, pretty much we're just going to take a break now. We have really made some progress on that. I think we got a good chunk of it done. Good point to take a break for some coffee as I see the cake coming out of the oven here. I can taste the cake already. And we got a good part of that wheel ground away here. I'm just looking to see if the temperature is going to be coming up so I can paint. And after all that grinding, that's what makes it all worthwhile. Right there. Oh my God. Now, ultimately, at the end of this, there's always the last little bit has to be done by hand. Nail files, those sticks I showed how to make, and there's just no way machines get in every nook and cranny. But it looks like it's warming up enough that I can paint. I ran into only one problem. I need to get some paint. I don't have enough to do the wheel. I'm going to have to run over to AutoZone, but I got to pull the tire next and mask off the inside and then sand the inside of the rim. So actually, I might not even get this done today. I don't know. We never know here. Every day is an adventure here. Every day. And I never know when my grandson's just going to pop over. And now that they have the puppy, though, it's even more fun. Now, because this is a casting, there's really no way you can make it as smooth as you can if it was a machine part. But the idea is to get on the first coat of primer, and my plan is anyway, sand that first coat of primer, and see how smooth I can make it. Because I want this to look, I don't want it to look like it's been a casting. I want it to have that look of a finished, shiny, high gloss part. And I've tried to show every step I've used, even though it's been very, very time consuming. And probably going to be time consuming here, because I'm going to detail this out as much as I can. And then I got to pull that tire. That's the next thing. So, but the tire being in place has been a big advantage, holding this down. And I got to also remember to get some compressed air. Now, I wanted to mention this. If you notice, this is an important thing. If you work with grinding and sanding, imagine if you didn't have this masked off. All of this dust and dirt would be down in by the bearing. So I'll fire up the compressor, blow some of this dust away, and I'm coming up on the time I can. I'm just going to do a final detailing. Final detailing means I'm going to rub my hand over everything, make sure there's no razor edges, no sharp spots, nothing that's going to ruin my day if I'm sanding away. That looks pretty good. I'll check the other side, and we should be ready to pull a tire.
Oh my God, there's a ton of dust. More than I thought. And all that stuff would be going down by the time if you didn't have it masked off real well.
Now, some GSs still use tubes, and I don't know if this one has a tube in it. I've never had the rim apart, but I see it's double nutted, so it's probably the stock tire valve and everything. But obviously, step one, let the air out of the tire. I always have my trusty, this is all the stuff I need to change tires here. And we'll try this again. We gave this a try last time, the bead breaker. I haven't tried it on an older rim. It seems to work okay, like on an R1 rim. MT, I think we used it on the MT, but I'm not sure. But anyway, not totally concerned about scratching the rim here, but I do want to get the tire off without putting a hammer mark in it or something. I keep all the spare valve things in here for a reason. Every once in a while I want to measure something or check it. And I am going to get a set of curvy girls for this, that's for sure. I need to measure the rim. I don't remember when I got them for the other one, but they come 8.3 and 11, so I think they're 8.3. Now my GS does not have tubes, but I do remember sometimes I had worked on GSs that had tubes. I don't remember. I don't remember if that was the thing of the day. Okay, so we got to, obviously the air's got to come out first, and I save all the old valve parts for obvious reasons. So this is the tool that we bought recently. Oh my God, you don't even need the other piece. This one just pops. See, normally you would put that in. That's pretty cool. So this is the Motion Pro thing. Actually, this works pretty good on this. Now, it worked good on the MT09, but wow, that's amazing. But normally you would take this piece and that would be the end of it. So I guess I lucked out on that. Or maybe because this is just an older tire, it just didn't have a good grip. I don't know. I don't need to know. Now this side was a little bit more difficult, so I guess I actually do need this. I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, I guess that does break the bead, but I know when they show you how to use this, you got to go around like a clock. But that definitely does break the bead. Now I use those Motion Pro, those things when I want to try to protect the rim. Obviously I don't want to put any gouges in it that I don't have to, but the Motion Pro stuff actually works pretty good. I'm impressed. And you can use these, by the way, as big oversized tire irons, which makes it pretty nice. So whenever I've got a rim this old, I always like to get a wire brush in here and clean off all the residual crap, I guess is the best word. I also have to measure what size curvy girl we're going to need for this job. And I guess the final thing is where that curvy girl is going to sit. I want to make that a perfectly smooth surface. So I have the tool already made. This lucky me. How lucky can a boy be? So that'll smooth that up, and that'll be one less thing I have to deal with. I can use the big wire wheel. It doesn't matter which one I use, really. But having this ready, it looks like it's warming up out there. I hope it's going to be warm enough I can do some priming, but if I get a coat of primer on this today, that'll just be a free bonus. I like free bonuses. Okay, so this is going to be one more step for mankind. That's nice, and where the curvy girl's going to go, nice and flat. Even though it doesn't seal, it seals on the side. And we have had such good luck with curvy girls for many, many years, so I'm tempted not to try any other brand. So with that part done, we need to just pop this middle piece out, get our, and thank you Pokey. Pokey donated that wheel balancer to our cause many years ago. And that was, we always appreciate those kind of little donations. Now I got this. Where did the piece go? Hey, I'm not supposed to drop things on camera. So let's get that through there. This is a good trick, by the way. Let it sit on there. That allows you to get this piece a little bit tighter than you normally would, which is in our favor right now. We always want to protect the, whenever we're going to paint, protect that with some tin foil. And from this point on, we're going to be in the wheel balancer. And again, thank you, Pokey. And this, without a wheel balancer, it's very difficult to paint a wheel. So I hope this information that we're going to be passing on as we paint it is going to be useful. Anybody painting a wheel without a wheel balancer or some way to spin it, it just makes it difficult. One of the steps you never want to omit. Where this lip is, I want to have paint a little bit past where the tire goes, but I want this edge for sure to be rough so it gets a good paint grip. I don't want to have a smooth, perfectly smooth area, and we weren't able to do that when we had the wheel, when we had the tire on. So from this point on, this is a critical step. And I want to go around, actually around here, before I backmask the middle of the wheel off. Now I always block off the hole. This is nice and flat. And these seal on the side, so by having that hole blocked off, I just don't want to build up the paint and have to scrape it with a razor or something and then run the risk that I put an edge on the paint. This way the curvy girl goes over this diameter, boom, and it's done. Now we're ready to backmask. I try to leave about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little more of wheel showing, just so the paint goes down under the tire, but not all the way, of course. Right about here is where I want it to end. Just doing the edge with fine line tape. I got plenty of old blue masking tape to mask this off, and we'll be pretty much closing in on being able to put some primer on this. The only problem is I think I'm going to run out of primer and have to go to AutoZone, because the one I have is probably only a half a can. I want to have some in inventory if the snow gets here. So I'm trying to stack the deck in my favor. So we definitely will get that primer today, even if we don't run out. Okay, we're all back masked up. Now the last thing is to cover this with some tin foil, and we'll be ready to prime. That went pretty well. Okay, the tin foil is just there. You could use a rag or something just to protect it. Now I want to wipe this down with prep oil, the final step, and it's just above freezing now, so I think we're ready to put a coat of primer on. And then if I run out, I got to run to AutoZone. If I don't run out, it's my lucky day. But I want to have that inventory because I know the big snow is coming, and I know I want more than one coat of primer on this for sure. Now, in the time I've been working in here, the sun has actually come out. It was really gloomy before, but you can see there'll always be something on this. And now, the idea of the prime is I want to get the first coat on wet.
I don't care if it runs, if I get a few drips, anything is going to happen, because I'm going to sand the whole coat of primer. But I do, you know, if possible, I'd like to get it on, but I don't want to put it on dry and make a lot of orange peel. I want to have what amounts to be a nice wet coat. And you can see there's still a little residual aluminum coming off of here, little by little. In here, we're going to have to put a little bit extra, because anywhere we still have casting, we want to have a little bit extra. But boy, we've lucked out that the temperature has come up, because it could have stayed, and I don't think the wind is even blowing that bad out there. So having some good weather, it's definitely in our favor. And Joe Padula called before and told me he's got the paint. The matching paint from Colorite, which usually is really a no-brainer. It really works pretty well. So hopefully tomorrow we'll move on that project too, maybe before the snow gets here. You never know. Yeah, that's the one thing we have no control over, is the weather. Now, this is what we're going to use, is self-etching primer. This happens to be Rust-Oleum, but Duplicolor is fine too. And I've only got one can, so this is going to be a challenge. Now, I tried to do that with fast forward so you could see how long it takes to do one side of the wheel. Of course, I'm going to spin it over and do the other side, but I'm definitely going to have to go get some primer here. And it's better at this point in time to just have the stuff in inventory, and shame on me that I don't have 3 or 4 cans in inventory. That came out good. Now, I don't want to get a big buildup along the edge here, but where there's a casting, I'll definitely put a little bit extra. And that's fine. That's good. That worked out well. I just got to do the other side. Now, it is a pretty tricky thing to paint a wheel. There's so many angles and edges and things you don't want to miss. And I find that when I go back and do a second coat on this, a lot of times I notice I missed the spot. This looks pretty good. But again, I want to get where the casting is, I want to get a little extra primer. I'll use up that can. And along the edge here, just one coat is good. Now remember, the primer on this, it's not primer filler. This primer we're just using for glue, but I do want to sand where the castings are and get that a lot smoother. Anyway, I think this worked out pretty good. Boy, we lucked out with the day. Alright, time to head out to AutoZone. We can let that dry and sit out here in the blazing sun at 33 degrees. So to celebrate our wheel being in prime, I think I'll have a big piece of cake to celebrate.
That's for my house. He wanted cake.
Cake in the house. Here we go. So everything's drying up great in a bright sun. I just rotated that so the sun shines on both sides for half an hour, and we're headed out to AutoZone. The good thing about the primer is I do like the Duplicolor a little better, but it won't matter as long as it's self-etching. Anytime I'm painting raw metal, it's a good idea to paint it as soon as possible. And I would not want to put it aside for a week and then prime it. I want to prime it, self-etch it as soon as possible. One thing I love is living in this place where there's AutoZones and Home Depots everywhere. Now notice how many different primers: sandable primer, filler, self-etching, primer sealer, adhesion promoter. Well, this is what we need, and we'll bite them out. So we bought all they had. 5 cans now, and I almost thought, well, I won't need any. Now I got plenty for the front wheel too. Smart. We're back and we have inventory now, no matter what the weather throws at us. Get home, everything is drying up beautifully here out in the sun. I'll rotate that again so the sun hits both sides. Beautiful. So today played out really well. Wow, that wheel just came out great. When you put this much work into anything, it's always nice to see a primer laid down beautifully,
We're going to put it under a heating vent overnight. Tomorrow we'll be ready to wet sand it out. And tomorrow Joe Padula is supposed to come down with the red paint for his fairing. So we got projects. We're ready to roll. And no matter when that snow, if it comes, we'll be in the cellar, not out in the garage. That's the main thing. Anyway, I want to thank the healthcare workers. Thank you guys so much. Boy, do I appreciate it. And as I say at the end of every video, I really do appreciate that my family has escaped so far through this terrible COVID time. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope there's something fun for you to enjoy watching it, and entertaining, maybe informative, or maybe you just like to watch me work. I don't know. We don't know that yet. Anyway, as I always end the video, I always say thank you so much for watching. Now, we do try to post up something every day or so. We do miss some days in the winter. Family stuff gets in the way, health issues. But we do try to work on motorcycles or ride them every day. And thank you, John Pothia, for that concept sketch. I'm looking at it every day. Looking forward to seeing these wheels on the motorcycle by the springtime. I'm not sure what spring, though. Time flies when you're having fun. But our Evil Twin project, and because I've owned this bike since it's brand new, I'm really not concerned with how much time or effort or energy or money I invest in it. I plan on having it till the day I die. I've got a lot of custom parts. I can Evil Twin it out anytime I want, very easily, and I have spare everything, including a spare bike. What a great investment that spare bike turned out to be. Anyway, I do hope you have enjoyed the video. I try to do these projects and not leave out any steps and try to make them fun to watch. And again, thank you guys, one and all, so much for watching. I really do appreciate it.